Hello everybody, and welcome back to Nin to Zen. I'm gonna take a bit of a departure from the form this week and talk about something a bit more personal instead of old-timey Japanese. But I think it's got some pretty universal implications for what's going on in the world, and that topic is depression. I've been helping people a lot with depression throughout the pandemic. I struggle myself with a good deal of depression. But something about the last 6 months, I've been having some insights about that depression, and also I've been helping some people through some things with depression that seems to be working in a different way. So I wanted to make that, these new tools public for everybody to have. So let's dive right in. The best summary for the things I'm realizing about depression is to think of depression as an electricity bill. I know that seems really strange, but let's go through it. If you're like me, you have seasonal bouts of depression or cyclical bouts of depression. I don't have the whole, I get depression when it's winter or things like that, but I have noticed certain patterns to my depression. And I've worked through them with counselors and therapists and coaches and all these things. And a lot of people I know who are in acceptance of their depression, not early stage diagnosis, but like figuring out how it works, have realized that depression tends to have these triggers or cycles that come through. And they all eventually reach a point that I've talked to at least, where they say, you know, this depression is just something that comes. I don't have to listen to it or give into it. I just need to know what I need to do to get through this depression until it passes, because it'll pass just like a thunderstorm. And these kinds of things. And I was in that place too. But I thought, you know, there's got to be something else going on. And then my father and some other people mentioned that depression is a great teacher, and that I should listen to it. And then I thought, well, that seems strange. Like, shouldn't I not let these things, these negative self-talk in? I should know that my mental illness lies, these kinds of things. But I really thought about what he said, and I realized it's a next level. So let's dive into this metaphor a bit of the electricity bill of depression. So the time of year comes, something happens, you lose a job, you lose a loved one, something, you know this depression is coming. Here comes the bill in the mail, right? Every bill has an itemized section and a minimum payment section. Self-care and understanding the cycles of your depression is your minimum payment. I like to think of it like this. Oh, you're depressed, so because of that you owe 50 I feel like shits, 20 sit in the bath all days, and 30 eat a pint of ice cream. Do all these self-care things that you know will make you feel really good, and the bill will go away, no problems, but it's gonna be back the next time that interest adds up. And it's going to say, here's all these things that you're depressed about again. Do you want to do the self-care for the minimum payment, or do you want to dive into the itemized receipt? So this thing about depression being a teacher is if you are at the place to look at your itemized receipt. And it's okay if you're not. If you're at a place where you still just need to do those minimum payments to learn the cycles of your bills, do that, please. Because in order to see the itemized bill of depression, you have to have cultivated a lot of patience with yourself and a lot of understanding of self-talk. So for example, when I get really depressed, I get really upset about squandering things, about that I have squandered my time, or I have squandered my love, or I have squandered my talents. I get very upset about this sense of squander, rot, and waste of the self, and not helping others enough, and these kinds of things. Obviously, only some people can only do so much, and so it's good. When this was very debilitating to me, a lot of it was learning how to not listen to that voice, to move on, to let the depression pass, and these things. But then I realized if I take the you're a piece of shit and you're not good enough and the squander language out of it, what is the depression telling me? Hey, you're somebody who wants to help people more. You're somebody who wants to use your voice more than you are. And the reason you're depressed is because you're not doing those things. Now, if I spiral into listening to that voice as true and that I'm not doing enough and all these different things, you get this sense of lack and downward spirals. But if you meditate, take a breath, take the time to detach from the thoughts and take all the judgment out of the depressive, invasive thinking and look at the essence of what the depressive episode is saying, it's then your responsibility when you recover from that depression to remember what it told you. That these are things that you really do need to do for part of your soul, but it's okay if you never do them. That bill will keep coming every depression, and you can do your minimum payment till the end of your life, and that's totally fine and healthy. But if you ever want to find this thing called transcendence that Buddhists like to talk about and like the Taoists like to talk about, this unfettered state, you have to do the hard work of knocking off the itemized receipt of that bill. One for me was working from home, and I felt very guilty about this pandemic helping me achieve it, but I know I love working from home, I'm most productive, I help more people when I'm working from home, and I had to overcome the guilt of, you're just a lazy person who's antisocial and never wants to go out and you're just gonna be doomed to be sad about it in an office for the rest of your life. I had to get past that and listen, okay, every time I go back to an office, I'm gonna feel this depression, unless I do everything in my power when I'm not depressed to work from home like I do now. And I can happily say that when my depression comes back, and it does, that's one thing it doesn't tell me anymore. So I put in the minimum payments for long enough and I decided, you know what? I want to make that monthly bill a little less by knocking at least one of these itemized charges off. And it's pretty liberating. So I hope this makes sense. Think about the times that you're depressed, and if you can, try to like separate and tease out all the negative judgments, all the negative self-talk, but keep the essence of what your depression is telling you, because it is a muse. It is a thing that is deep from yourself, all the society, all the expectations aside, that is saying this is what you want, this is what you need to grow, and it's okay if you never do it. However, I'm going to remind you every time you're sad, because this is the path to happiness, actually. So this channel is all about how strife can actually be the enlightener, not just the happy. So think about these ways that depression can be an enlightener, and that enlightenment doesn't mean the end of depression, but actually the alchemical transmutation of depression from, instead of it being this thing to live with, this muse that visits you once a year, or once a month, or once a day, depending on your cycles, to tell you the things you need to do to take care of yourself. So hope this helps. It's been helping me so far, so I hope there's somebody else out there enough like me that this rings true. So, しげんはりめんつ大根よ。